And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, today we're taking a look at the fourth expansion for Smash Up called Monster Smash, which has your classic monsters from, well, the Monster Mash type thing. You got Frankenstein and Dracula, Frankenstein's monster, and Dracula, and werewolves, and giant ants. Typical 1950s style movie monsters. And this is all about power counters. Now this can be played as a two-player game, blah, blah, blah. I don't know how many people do that. But essentially, I'm going to talk about this as if it was an expansion for Smash Up. So if you like Smash Up, pay attention. Here we go.
To my surprise, he did the Monster Mash.
The Monster Mash.
It was a graveyard smash.
He did the mash.
It caught on in a flash.
He did the mash.
He did the Monster Mash. From my laboratory in the castle east to the master pit.
First of all, let's take a look at there's new locations, and these locations match to different things. Of course, you're going to need a laboratorium if you're going to have mad scientists, and you'll need Castle Blood if you're going to have vampires. So there's new locations. There's also piles of new tokens that have like sparkling energy on them, but you get tokens in all the games. So let's take a look at the different factions. First, we have the giant ants. Now, the giant ants are all about placing power tokens on each character. Now, I don't really know what they intended you to use for power tokens. I looked in the rulebook. It doesn't really talk much about the different power tokens, but I'm assuming you're supposed to use victory point tokens. The problem with that is you're often taking power tokens off of people, and so then it's easy to get them mixed up with your victory points. So I just usually use something different. So I'll use these counters maybe for power tokens, something that's different. And I guess you don't have to, but it just seems odd that they didn't mention that in the rules, or at least nowhere that I found. Anyway, the giant ants get 2+1 power counters on this token. So, and you say, well, how's that different than just giving them a power 2? That's because the giant ants are all about adding power tokens to lots of things. Here's give me the prize, put a power token on 3 of your minions. Here, put 2 on this minion. You can transfer them from this minion to another minion. Or the drone, put a power token on this minion, and before one of your minions is destroyed, you can get rid of a power token to prevent that destruction. So you can do that multiple times with the drone. Headlong here moves a minion to another base, put 2+1 power counters there. If you have another minion here this turn, place a +1 counter on this minion and that minion. Now I think, because this is called the Killer Queen, that many of the cards in this game have queen titles. But I don't know, or maybe someone can enlighten me in the comments as to why queen is associated with giant ants. But anyhow, each of your minions here gets +1 power for each +1 power token on to the end of the turn. So this is a pretty cool thing to add. The show must go on. You put on the base. Your minions here with +1 power counters are not affected by other players' cards. So that's a cool thing. We are the champions. When you score, you can transfer your power tokens from one of your minions here to another minion. Who Wants to Live Forever? Take +1 power counter tokens from your minions. Draw a card for each counter that's removed. Or a kind of magic. Transfer any or all of your +1 power counters among your minions. So you can see that these giant ants are all about the power tokens. Another faction that's very similar and is also about the power tokens is the monsters, or the mad scientists. I keep wanting to call this the Frankenstein deck. I guess Frankenstein was a scientist, I know. Dr. Frankenstein and Frankenstein's monster. Anyhow, they use power tokens to get stronger. So you have here, play an extra minion, put a +1 power token on it, put a power token on someone else. You can see their numbers are better than the ant. The ants are about putting out tons of power tokens. Here it's about just making your people stronger. Here's the monster. Remove a +1 power token from this minion to play an extra minion. You got to get one on them first, but you have plenty of people who can do that. Play an extra minion. Place a +1 power counter on each of your minions. That's a pretty cool thing, and it's really cool to think how this will mix with other decks, like the Pirates. Place a +1 counter on another one of your minions, a Doctor, and he's a strength 5 too. So there's some pretty cool, powerful cards. And then here, destroy a minion. Put number of +1 power counters equal to that minion's power. Split any way you choose on your minions. That's pretty neat. especially if you body shop the doctor. I find it interesting. Again, mix them with the dinosaur. Do that to the T-Rex. That's really a cool method here. Blitz, take power counters off to destroy somebody, or here, put a power token on this person every turn. You pick somebody, and each turn they get a power token, and this minion cannot be destroyed. That's really cool. I really like this. So they use power tokens differently than the ants do to get stronger. And they actually make a pretty interesting combination with the ants. Now here's someone who doesn't use power tokens. They just want power. And that's the werewolves. These minions get extra power. This one's a 4, but before base scores, he becomes a 6. This guy here, before this base scores, each of your minions here get +1 power. This minion gets +2 power until the end of the turn. Then we have, let's see what else we got here. We got, before this base scores, this minion gains +2 power. We already saw that. Guy, why are we showing that? The reason I'm showing that with all these powers, because these werewolves use these powers. Here, choose a minion, destroy a minion with a lower power at your minion's base. A minion that has a power 4 or more gets +1 power to the end of the turn. Here you can give someone the teenage wolf gives someone else a +1 power. Here, this gives everyone at the base +1 power. And the reason you want to do that is because you can then destroy people or hurt people. Here, if you have the highest power at a base, you draw a card. And then, of course, I like this one here. Simply, you're unstoppable. You can't be destroyed. If you have more power than anyone else at a territory, you reduce that base's breakpoint to 0. This is a really cool card, a very powerful card. It essentially lets you conquer any base on the board if you're winning it, which is a really interesting thing. But it has to be at the start of your turn, so people will try to stop you. Here, if you have the highest power, you get an extra action. Here, if you can choose a minion, you can destroy any number of minions whose total power is less than or equal to your minion's power. So the werewolves are about getting this power and then using it to do different things, mostly destroy other people, which is something we're all happy about. Finally, we have the vampires. The vampires who do not sparkle and just look like normal Count Dracula style vampires. These guys also have power tokens, and they will use those to hurt other characters. Here, this guy lets you play an extra minion. Here, if someone has more power than you do, then you get to put a power token on her. Instead of a 2, she's a 3. Put a +1 power token on your minion, then destroy a minion of power 2 or less. Essentially, you're sucking the blood. Although I found in real life that this seems kind of odd when you mix it with robots. I'm not sure how vampires are sucking robots' blood. The Mad Monster Party, it was a mash. The Monster Mash. Place a +1 power counter on each of your minions that does not have one. Destroy a minion of power 4 or less. Big gulp that. Okay, never mind. Let's see, Heavy Drinker. You can destroy one of your minions to place a +1 counter on this minion, so kill one of your own to get +1. Destroy a minion of power 2 or less. The vampires are all about destroying weak people. So if you play anyone in Smash Up who uses a lot of weenies, I'm thinking robots or the Troublemakers, these are guys that get rid of them and it makes you more powerful. Here, and this gives you, you can put the opportunist, so you can make anybody a vampire. That's what I think of when I put this opportunist on. I put it on, let's say you put it on a werewolf. Now you have a vampire werewolf. Buffet, if you're the winner, you get a +1 power counter on all your minions at a base. That's really a cool thing. And then, of course, the count. After another player's minion is destroyed, plays a +1 counter. Every time someone else's minion is destroyed, the count gets stronger, which makes him possibly the strongest character in the game, as maybe he well should be. Did you catch a theme here? All about power, baby! Power tokens, the power that powers monsters. It's so thematic. The power tokens are cool. They're the tiniest bit fiddly as you put power tokens out. And like I said, I really think you should replace them with some other sort of counter rather than using the victory point tokens. But it works well, and like I do with every set that I get of Smash Up, I'm thinking, who can I mix the giant ants with? Who do the vampires go well with? Who do the werewolves work well with? Do they work well with each other? And they can. I use the combo of the ants and the mad scientist, and it worked really well. There are +1 counters everywhere, and that's neat. But it's also neat to see. Okay, maybe I should mix the ants with the changelings. And now I can put power tokens out and then duplicate that power. So, as always, the whole thing about Smash Up is its combos. Now, where does this set fit? Well, I don't like it as much as I liked the last set, the one with the changelings and such. But I do like it better than the Cthulhu set, and I think I'd say this is probably my second favorite expansion so far. My only caveat here is that yes, the vampires, the ants, and the mad scientists are different, but the differences are more subtle than before. There was usually some pretty obvious differences between the different factions. I thought all these had that put power tokens out, and so they felt a little similar. I know they're different. The vampires are putting tokens out as they destroy people. The ants are putting them out everywhere, and the monsters are putting them out. So they are different. I just maybe would have liked them to be even more different. But I don't think it matters that much when you mix them into the piles of factions that are already out there. It's a very solid thing. It's not, even though I mentioned all these token stuff, it's not hard to understand. It's very easy. It's easier than the Cthulhu set with the Madness cards. This is an easy thing to explain and run. So, I mean, am I recommending it? Well, yes, because I get every Smash Up expansion and I like them all. But this is basically, do you like the theme? Do you need more expansions? You probably already bought it anyway, and you're just watching this to see what's in the set. So that's Smash Up Monster Smash.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door.
Yeah.